guys, how's it going? I'm back with a Mr. Nightmare video for you guys today. I was going to say Darman. This is 3 disturbing true trucker horror stories. This just came out 4 days ago, so while I was on vacation, I still am. Today's my last full day of vacation, so let's hope I'm enjoying it. Pre-filmed. But I'm definitely enjoying it. I might be in Toronto right now, actually. Or I might be on my way to Toronto at this moment that we're speaking. Probably not, but possible. If not, I'll just be chilling and getting ready for work tomorrow. Back to work for the first time. So, in about 12 days. So, that's good. Anyways, yeah, we're going to be back with this horror story video. When this came out, I was like, fuck, I kind of want to react to this. But I was like, wait till it's Darman. Fuck. Wait till it's Mr. Nightmare Tuesday or Mr. Nightmare Friday. And we're here at Mr. Nightmare or Horror Tuesday. So, we're going to start this now. Do you know want this video to be anywhere near as long as the video that I had last time? It was like 57 minutes long, if you guys even watched that video. Please let me know if you guys actually watch those videos or not, because I don't want to do this for nothing. Gonna give us a like already, because I know I like it. Truckers are very important, because obviously truckers basically haul goods, and you know, they do a job that no one else really wants to do, so kudos to them. They're definitely important, they're definitely needed. One second, this person keeps snapping me. Let me just see what this person wants. Okay. Down. 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 Could have just opened that later. But anyways. So because I just shaved and I feel like there's still like remnants all over. I'm going to shower tomorrow morning or afternoon, so get rid of all the nasty hairs that are left over. But anyways, you guys don't need to know that. But yeah, like I said, truckers are important, so definitely sucks that horror stories are so associated with everything. Policing, security. I actually haven't seen many security guard horror stories from Mr. Nightmare. If any come out, I'm definitely going to be on those because I'm a security, so kind of nervous if those stories come out. So let's just start because I keep talking too much. If you guys want to know how my vacation was, I explained in the first minute or 2 minutes in the Darman video yesterday, so you guys can watch that if you want to. I'll run up on how my vacation went. It went great. Roy.
I've been a trucker for close to 15 years now. This happened to me in 2017. I was driving an overnight haul through the Mojave Desert in California, headed for a destination in Arizona. I think I was delivering appliances. I don't really remember. It was pitch black darkness in every direction.
There's honestly trucks. I see so many trucks like all the time at nighttime, and it's like they do a lot of night shifts and all that. They obviously do days too, but they definitely do a lot of nights to like stay off the road during like rush hour, I feel like, because you see a lot of trucks at nighttime. So again, like night shifts, like damn, truckers are important, man. So I feel for you guys having to do those. I do night shifts too, so I fully understand.
The lights on my semi were really dim at the time, and I'd been putting off getting them fixed forever. Usually I couldn't tell the difference, but since there were basically no other cars on the road, it was much more obvious. I remember having to strain my eyes every few minutes to make out the road in the distance. It could have been a horror story in of itself. I was debating pulling over for a couple hours and waiting for sunrise, but I didn't want to waste my time. I desperately needed the money at the time, so I kept driving even though it wasn't fully safe. I figured since it was basically a straight line it would be okay. I think it was about an hour before sunrise when I saw something approaching fast in the distance. Worried about hitting an animal, I slammed on the brakes. As my truck screeched to a stop, I realized what was in front of me, a car with its hazards on. The weird thing was that it was in the exact middle of the road, like literally on the double yellow. What was even weirder was that the passenger door was wide open. My truck stopped maybe a foot before hitting it. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty fearless guy, and I know my way around a bar fight. Because of this, I wasn't really scared when I saw the car. I was more curious than anything. I thought maybe someone needed a jump or something, so I reversed the semi and pulled over. I thought about throwing some flares down, but decided against it since I hadn't seen a single other car on the road besides this one. I got out of my truck and made my way over to the car. It was a warm, still night. I remember thinking how strange it was that there was almost no wind. It was also really quiet that night. The faint click of the hazards was the only sound in what felt like the entire desert. I got a little closer to the car.
I feel like I'd be so scared. Like, I feel like I would just want to, like, go around the car. Like, I would slam on the brakes, back up, and then go around it. So, like, there's still some room. Maybe not there, but there's more room over here because the car is more so over there. So I would just go around. Bye, sis. Bye. Or I would get in the truck, maybe. Like, maybe get in the truck, like, go in front of the car, then pull over, then kind of back up, and then if anything's sus, then get in the truck and run away. Not run away, but drive away. Like, you know what I mean, right? Like, be in front of the car, not behind it. So if you have to leave, you can, like, you're already in front of it. If you have to leave, you could just dip, right? Yeah, that's a smart idea, right? I think.
I vividly remember that it was a new-looking red Ford Fusion. I approached the car a little cautiously. Like I said, the passenger door was wide open. I walked around the car and stopped in my tracks. It was completely empty. I made sure of it too, checking the back seat and anywhere someone might be laying down.
Trunk?
There was literally no one inside. All of a sudden, I was much less sure about the situation. I was expecting someone to need help of some sort, maybe even someone who took a nap in a really dumb spot. I certainly wasn't expecting this, though. The car was literally empty. I cast a few glances over my shoulder, feeling a lot more uneasy now. I kept whipping my head around, looking in every direction. I felt like someone was going to charge me or something. The problem was, it was so dark that I couldn't see that far in front of me, except for what was lit up by my truck's headlights. It was eerie. I waited a while longer, thinking about getting back in my truck and forgetting about this whole thing.
Leave.
Someone was out there, somewhere. Against my better judgment, I decided to keep investigating. I looked inside the car, but everything seemed completely normal. The key was even in the ignition, although the engine was turned off. I got back out of the car and made my way over to the trunk. Might as well have a look, I figured. I went to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Locked. I grabbed the key out of the ignition and unlocked the trunk. Still, though, the thing wouldn't budge.
Someone's holding it closed.
It was jammed from the inside somehow.
Someone's holding it
I
closed.
opened the back door and tried getting at the trunk through the back seat. To my surprise, it actually opened. There were 3 squished garbage bags back there, along with a rope that was tying the trunk closed. I remember glancing one more time over my shoulder before reaching for them. The coast was clear. I must have been within 5 inches from one of the bags, when the loudest gunshot I've ever heard rang out into the night. I slammed my head on the roof of the car in shock. I didn't even think. I threw the keys on the front seat and got out of the car as fast as I could. As I was climbing into my semi, I heard a grungy voice yelling in the distance. He yelled "hey" a bunch of times, and his voice seemed to be quickly approaching. I scrambled into the semi and turned it on. I threw it in gear as fast as I could. I remember cursing a bunch of times as the engine initially stalled, and that's when I saw it. As my truck began pulling out, I saw a person standing at the trunk of the car. He was a short, husky guy with red hair. He was wearing overalls and shin-high boots. In his left hand, he was holding a small shovel. In his right, though, was an old-looking hunting rifle.
Well, we all know what was in there. He had a shovel and 3 garbage bags and a rope holding it shut. Yep, I was wrong. It wasn't a person holding it, but something was holding it. Yep. Yep. That was a murder. You basically found a murderer, and he almost killed you too, so he would have put you in a garbage bag too. Yep. Well, that's why you don't investigate. You just say, there's something kind of weird over here. There's like a, big sus. Just call somebody, not the police necessarily, but even if you called a non-emergency line, just saying, hey, just wanted to kind of like report this. It's kind of weird, like the engine, the keys are here, and you know what I mean? Like it just seemed a bit weird. Like at least if the car pulled to the side with the 4-ways on, car off, lights off, everything, then maybe it would have been a bit better. But just like the fact that you parked in the middle, dead ass, passenger side open, like what the fuck? That's so sus. Like why would you not make it less sus? Make it look less sus in case anybody drives by, which somebody obviously did.
We locked eyes for a few seconds as my truck began to drive past him. He didn't move. I remember him not looking crazy or anything. He had this worried look on his face. As I passed him, he dropped his shovel and started waving his hands. He yelled "wait" a few times, but I wasn't staying there another second. As I drove away, I watched in the rearview mirror as he ran after my truck for a few seconds before sprinting back to his car. It was clear he wanted me to stop, but there was absolutely no way I was going to do that.
You literally just trying to shoot at him. Wait, stop. Bitch, you just tried to kill me. I'm fucking out of here.
I stepped on it, pushing the semi much faster than I should have. I drove for like 5 minutes and started to think I was in the clear. But then, I saw headlights fast approaching behind me.
Fuck, bro.
I remember feeling more scared than I've ever felt in my entire life.
Call the police.
I called the police and told them what happened to the best of my ability.
Yes.
That's when the car was basically right on my tail. It started honking like crazy at me. I honestly didn't know what to do, so I just kept driving, praying to God he wouldn't try and ram me. After like 15 minutes...
I mean, either way, you're in a truck, so even if he rams you, it's like, you got the police on the phone, like, you're trying to do something here. And plus, like, your intentions were not bad. In the whole beginning, like, your intentions were great. You're trying to help somebody. That was potentially in danger. And you probably just found a murderer, so you did something good.
...of this. He cut in front of... praying to God he wouldn't try and ram me. After like 15 minutes of this, he cut in front of me and hit his brakes, forcing me to slow down. I was just about to crash into him, when finally some flashing police lights appeared ahead.
Thank God.
The Ford veered off to the right and sped into the desert, disappearing from sight. I pulled over and waited for the officer to show up. I frantically told him what had happened, but the useless cop decided to get a report from me rather than chase the guy down. I was so pissed about that. I told the guy like twice that he could probably catch up to him if he left now. The cop told me not to worry and that they'd do a thorough search as soon as backup arrived. He sent me on my way and said they'd call me if they ever had an update for me. They never did. None of my buddies have a story this crazy, and I've told it more times than I can count. I know what you're probably thinking. That guy was definitely burying bodies.
Yep.
That doesn't really explain why he had such a small shovel, or why he tried to follow me. The bags in his trunk were also too small for that, although some of my buddies think he might have done some dismembering. For my own sanity, I like to think that he was burying some other kind of animal, maybe putting a diseased dog out of its misery, or some dangerous snakes. I really have no idea. Either way, I've never been totally comfortable driving through deserts late at night after this experience.
Again, you had good intentions. I'm not really gonna, like, judge you for that. Maybe after the initial investigation where you're like, I'm gonna keep investigating. I would highly go against that because you almost died. So, I mean, I would not. I mean, obviously you didn't know that, but again, just call someone for help. Like, hey, there's someone kind of sus here, and I think it's kind of sus. So do you want to check out this susness? Yes? No? Okay, well, I told you. That's all. My due diligence is done. I reported something that was sus. I didn't want to take action. Whatever. That's not on me no more, right? As long as you basically put the blame on somebody else. Like, as long as you do your part. Like, let's say, like at work, let's say, I find something that I find suspicious, but maybe it's not suspicious at all. At least I did my job and I told my supervisor. If I do that, then I'm in the clear. I told my supervisor, like, oh, don't worry about it. Well, there you have it. I told somebody else, they said don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, well, so I'm done. I checked off my box, like I did what I had to do. So again, for him, he could have just reported it and then just said, if they do something about it, great. If I help catch a murderer, fantastic. If they were a murderer and police didn't do nothing, well, I tried. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of my view on it. You did your due diligence in a sense, like you tried. So, I mean, is what it is. Juan Ramirez. Isn't that Mex... I don't know what names, but I'm pretty sure it's a Mexican name, isn't it?
I'm sure you've seen some of the more modern videos online where truckers will document their daily routines and provide tips for each other.
No,
or
never heard of
you
that.
haven't.
Never heard of that.
But being as I'm on the younger side in this industry, every time I open TikTok or YouTube Shorts, that's all I see. I won't get into it, but I had to drop out of a pretty prestigious university for some personal reasons, and people always tell me I could have been more than a trucker. It's honestly not a bad gig, though. I've been making deliveries for north of 2 years. Obviously, the only strenuous part of the job is the long hours.
And night
You
shifts.
can never truly gauge how the isolation will affect you without experiencing it firsthand. My only advice would be to make peace with whatever demons might be lurking in your subconscious, because they'll definitely eat at your brain in the lonely hours. That's what happened to me, anyway. This happened to me 3 months after getting employed by my first company. I was basically as new in this trade as one could get. I was driving from southern New Jersey to Lafayette, Indiana, a 12-hour drive. 12 hours driving might not seem that crazy, but
That's crazy. Driving 30 minutes annoys me. 12 hours? No thank you.
Factor in the fact that I just completed an 8-hour trip, and that should put things into perspective. I wanted to get deliveries done as quickly as possible, so I opted to drive through the night. I'd get to Lafayette just before 3 a.m. Things were going smoothly. There were virtually no other cars on the road, so I was able to push the semi a little faster than normal. About halfway through the drive, I remember reaching down at the center console to chug a Red Bull, but there weren't any. Of course, I had forgotten to restock my truck after completing my previous delivery. After slapping my dashboard a few times, I groaned in frustration, knowing I'd have to stop somewhere. There was nothing I hated more than having to make stops during my drives. I might be unique in this, but I always get exponentially more tired when my vehicle isn't mobile, even if I'm only stopped for like 20 seconds. After glancing up at the navigation, I figured I had no choice. Either fall asleep on the road, or stop and get an energy drink. In my brain, those options were pretty much equivalent. Reluctantly, I pulled into the first service stop I saw. I had literally no clue where I was, probably somewhere in Ohio at this point.
Check
Too
your map.
late I realized this wasn't actually a service stop. It was what looked like an abandoned gas station and a repurposed convenience store. I'm not sure if there's any better way to describe it.
I forgot to mention I'm watching this horse story at 3:29 a.m. right now, just so you guys know. 3 a.m., which is our...
Either way, it looked like there was another quick stop store not far up the road, so I figured I'd go there if anything. I parked the semi and made my way over to the first convenience store. To be completely honest, I was expecting one of two things to happen. Either the place would be open, or the door would be locked. You can imagine my surprise then, when the door swung open into a pitch-black store. I looked around, hoping maybe I'd get lucky and there would be a drink or snack left behind. Just before I was about to turn around, my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and I picked up on a faint glow emanating from the corner of the room. I made my way over to it, and the glow turned out to be coming from a back room of some sort. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the door slowly. To my pleasant surprise, there was a plugged-in refrigerator against the wall. Eagerly, I opened the door, but found nothing. Literally nothing. The shelves had literally been removed, like the whole appliance had been gutted. As I was shutting the door, I was 90% certain I heard a clatter from the main room, like something hitting the floor. I froze for a good 10 seconds. Had I imagined it? There was no way. Quietly, I walked back into the main room and looked around. Nothing. Part of me wanted to keep investigating. I didn't have time for this, though. I walked out the entrance door and basically jogged to the other shop. It was open, thank God. I paid for my drink and made it back to my truck. Something about this whole stop felt wrong. I needed to get back on the road as soon as possible. I took one last glance at the abandoned store and noticed the door was now open. I was 100% positive I had shut it behind me. It wasn't my job to figure out what was going on here, though. So I started the engine and merged my semi back onto the highway.
There you go.
The caffeine started kicking in and snapped me out of my tired haze pretty quickly. My mind began to wander, and I started thinking about how bizarre that whole thing had actually been. I guess a squatter in an abandoned building wasn't the strangest thing in the world, but my brain couldn't explain that refrigerator no matter what theory I thought of. I tried to forget about it and kept driving. It was then that I started noticing weird movements in the curtain behind me. Sweat started dripping down my forehead. I watched in the rearview mirror as the curtain seemed to billow and move, even though I didn't have the air on. I thought the worst. There was someone in my truck. I didn't have any weapons on me or anything, so I discreetly punched in the nearest police station on my phone. The drive there was the most tense and horrifying 20 minutes of my life. I kept imagining that person reaching out to grab me or trying to crash my truck.
Fuck.
Finally, I approached the police station. I stopped the semi as close as I possibly could get and basically ran over to the police station. In seconds, my truck was surrounded by police, and after I opened the back, what I saw will stay with me for life. The police pulled out 3 homeless-looking people, 2 men and 1 woman. They were wearing rags and were wrapped in nasty-looking blankets. One of the men was armed with 2 switchblades. All 3 of them refused to talk, but stared menacingly at me as they were getting cuffed. I have no idea what they wanted. I don't think I'll ever know.
I was gonna say that story was not that bad. I was gonna say if that story is done, then that story was not that bad. Bro, that's fucking terrifying, bro. Holy shit. 2 switchblades, bro. They could have killed you at any moment. Oh my god. These stories are literally close to death, bro. Like these stories, like the gunshot. There's really 2 people armed with knives behind, like literally directly behind you, bro. Fuck. Because at first I was like, yeah, I saw my job to investigate. I left and that was it. And that was the story. I was like, yeah, that wasn't that bad. But once I heard like the thing moving in my truck, I was like, oh fuck, bro. There's so many in your truck. 3 people, bro. Fuck. I'm honestly really glad that they both got out alive. Because again, like truckers are like really important. They're really needed. You know what I mean? Like, obviously a lot of jobs are like needed and necessary. But I feel bad for like a lot of people in certain careers. Like I really feel bad for truckers for some reason. I really feel bad for like a lot of people. Like construction workers, I really feel bad for. Like obviously they chose to go in that work, but it's like sometimes if that's all you can find, that's all you can find, right? I don't know. I feel like some jobs are just like, I feel really bad for you. I'm sorry. And like truckers is one of them. So that's just me. Kevin.
My name is Kevin. I've been a trucker for varying companies for the better part of 15 years now.
Kevin McAllister? And damn, 15 years is a long time.
Things have become pretty routine at this point. Pick up the goods and materials, verify them for accuracy, and deliver them as instructed. We're not paid by the hour, so efficiency is the most important thing in this line of work. For someone like me, who's been doing this forever, I like to think I can outwork all these young guns that are snapping these jobs up. This isn't always great, though. Usually I push myself to the absolute limit when it comes to functioning on barely any sleep. 4 years ago, I was working for a warehouse based in North Dakota. For anyone who doesn't know, North Dakota is one of the flattest states, which makes trucking a little easier. This also meant that skipping out on a few hours of sleep could mean the difference between employment and getting the sack. It was a chilly Tuesday morning in May. The beginning of the week meant that more loads needed to be shipped, which meant more work for me. I wanted to knock it all out in one shot, so I traced my route into Montana accordingly, planning on not stopping even once to sleep. I hit the road a few hours after lunch, expecting to reach my destination.
And this is probably why I feel bad for them.
Very early the next morning. I hit the road a few hours after lunch, expecting to reach my destination very early the next morning. I pushed the semi as much as possible, doing maybe a couple over the speed limit. It was getting late, and I remember rubbing the crust from my eyelids as the clock ticked past midnight. I was having trouble keeping my eyes open, but I only had about an hour left in this drive, so I gritted my teeth and kept going. My buddy Tristan, who was also a trucker, introduced me to smelling salts when I first started out. If you don't know, smelling salts are basically some kind of crystals in a little bottle. One sniff and you're wide awake. You had to be careful though. Too many back-to-back uses could be dangerous. Or at least that's what Tristan told me. They burn your nose a little bit, but whenever I needed a boost, I'd reach for the smelling salts first. This was one of those times. I took a big whiff and shot my head back, my reflexes taking over. I felt the adrenaline course through my body, and I hoped the feeling would last the rest of the drive. A half hour shot by, and I was really struggling. I felt myself start to doze off, and the blare of my truck drifting into the shoulder jolted me awake. This was getting dangerous, I thought. I had to pull off. I was all alone on the highway, but there was nowhere to pull off. There was just woods on either side of me. I slowed the truck down, searching desperately for somewhere to pull over. At this low speed, my headlights pierced through the darkness, and I was able to see a lot more. As I looked around, I saw something that confused me. There was a purple dress lying in the middle of the road. What the hell? I thought, rubbing my eyes. Was I hallucinating? I blinked like 6 times just to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
The fuck?
It was real. I approached the dress with my truck and stared at it as I rolled by. In hindsight, this should have been more of a red flag, but I think I was just too exhausted to process what was going on. About 200 or so yards away, I passed a pair of shoes. Now I was starting to freak out. What the hell was going on?
Police.
I passed the shoes, praying to God there would be a place to pull off soon. My old man, David, was a super religious guy, so I clutched his old cross and hoped he would come through for me. A little further up the road, I saw a bunch more random clothing. some of which looked like little kids' clothing. This time
Police.
I stopped the truck.
Police.
The panic started to set in. Something was very, very wrong.
Yep.
I sat in the driver's seat with the truck at a standstill. I was expecting something to happen, but it never did. So I did what my instincts told me to do. I stepped out of the truck and went to inspect the clothing. I still remember the feeling of the chilly morning air piercing my skin, which definitely helped my exhaustion. I approached the pile as cautiously as I could. It was indeed kids' clothing. It looked like there were both boy and girl pieces of clothing in the pile. I looked around into the woods, but I couldn't see much of anything in the darkness. I had my head on a swivel, worried that this was some kind of trap. I decided it was not my business to figure out what was going on.
Please.
So I made my way back to my truck. Just then, I heard a crunch from the left. I whipped around, trying to see what was there. I stood there, waiting to hear another sound. After about 30 seconds, there was another crunch, but this time from the opposite side of the road. My survival instincts kicked in, and I sprinted towards the truck. I jumped into the front seat, but just before I slammed the door, I heard a child's scream ring out. I
Fuck.
froze, my heart bursting out of my chest. I was caught in a crossroads. I wasn't going to fight some random people in the pitch-black woods, but I couldn't just abandon some helpless kids either. Before I could make a decision, another almost identical child's scream rang out.
I bet this is a setup. I feel like this is either set up like it's not even a real kid, it's just like an audio recording of a kid screaming. It may not be real. I feel like it may not be real. This is all set up, I feel like. Call the police.
Without thinking, I turned the truck on and pointed its nose toward the spot in the woods where I heard the noise.
Oh my god.
My headlights lit up about 30 yards into the woods. There were 3 or 4 people, one of whom was holding a massive speaker. They ducked behind a couple
Speaker,
trees as
see?
my truck lit them up.
Speaker.
But I had exposed them for just enough time to make out what they were doing. They hid from the light before I could really make out any distinctive features. But I swear on my old man David's grave, they were holding up a speaker, trying to lure me into the woods with a fake kid screaming.
I knew it.
I was just in shock. I just sat there, staring at the trees those people had just hid behind. I reached for my phone to call the police, but before I finished dialing, I heard a thump from the body of the truck. Someone had thrown something from the other direction. I was done. I turned back to face the road and slammed on the gas. As I sped off, I could make out a person on the other side of the road. He shouted something I couldn't understand before launching something at the truck that cracked the glass of my passenger side window. I drove the final hour in silence. I was too scared to process what had just happened.
Police?
But there was no way in hell I was stopping to sleep in those woods. I completed my delivery and then knocked out. I must have slept for 10 hours straight. When I woke up, the first thing I did was call the police, who told me they'd investigate those woods and give me any updates. I then thought about the whole thing and how stupid I was to get out of my truck. I should have just minded my own business. But the thought of some kids being kidnapped or worse was just too much for me to ignore. To this day, I still have no idea what those people were trying to do. I don't know why they didn't just rush me when they had the chance, or what they were planning to do to me if I ran out in the woods after the kids screaming. In all my years of being a trucker, nothing has ever come close to being as strange or downright terrifying as this experience.
I feel like some people are like literally just insane. Like some people literally are insane. Like you literally want to drag somebody to the woods, lure somebody into the woods to kill them, to rob them, to do this. Like you're using a speaker as a kid screaming to lure someone into the woods to do God knows what to them. Like that's also the scary part of this shit. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I don't even understand why you would want to do that. Blurry. I don't recognize. Like some maybe were blurry, but I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really even notice it or care. No, it's okay. It gives a spooky vibe. That's true. Yeah, some blurry visuals don't take the worth away. Exactly. It's fine. The real horror story is the fact that I've watched all the streamers' videos and can't binge ones I haven't seen before. What? Again, the first story seems like one of those characters that get offed early on in a horror movie. That's true. Again, like, he was doing his job. That's not his job at all, but, like, he was doing, I feel like, a good job. Yeah, that's true. In the first story, there's a difference between being fearless and being stupid. Guy in the last story is a genius. Instead of calling the cops immediately to make sure no one else falls victim to the trap, he goes to sleep and calls 10 hours later. Big brain move. That's what I was thinking. I was like, police, police, police. Then he calls 10 hours later. Well, now they're probably gone. I get it that you're exhausted, that you don't want to call, but it's just like, even... okay. You know, just tell them something. Fuck. Figure out how many truckers aren't taking care of themselves and putting the rest of us in danger by not sleeping and using anything they can keep. That's honestly pretty true. That's why I feel bad for them, because again, like, they want to just... If I was the first dude, I would have just kept going. Now my problem, he clearly hasn't heard the phrase "curiosity killed the cat." I haven't heard that phrase in so long, bro, and honestly, I'm glad that someone told me that now, because honestly, that's true. I'm always really curious. I'm always super duper curious, guys. Rule of driving isolated roads. If you ever see a car stopped and it's partially blocking the road, get the fuck out. Call the cops to help them? Exactly. It's call the cops for assistance. Hey guys, yeah, there's something kind of sus going on here. Like clothing in the road? Police, yeah, there's something, just so I let you know. I don't know what's happening here. And at the very end, you definitely call the police. Someone just tried to lure me into the woods with a speaker. Can you investigate this? Thank you. Call the cops to help them, and don't ever get out of your car. People set up ambush points like that to rob or worse. Remember, most people try to move their car to the side of the road in case of emergencies. If they didn't, there's a reason. Don't stick around to find out why. Facts. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty fearless guy. Toots his own horn. The fact that the first story where the dude acts all brave and stuff while also looking stupid just makes me laugh. The second guy fancied himself a pretty intelligent guy, proceeded to act out everything in the stupidest and weirdest manner possible. I could have went to college and been so much more... Yeah, me too. I'm a trucker and there are lots of horror stories I could tell, but most just involve horribly bumpy roads. Scariest experience overall. Oh, we have another bonus horror story, guys. Some years ago, I was a customer in California and I was parked off to the side waiting for them to get me a door. Another driver had come along and parked in front of me, and when he was ready to go into a door, I guess I was in his way, but didn't know it. He comes over to my truck and starts screaming at me and throwing stuff at my truck. I had no idea what happened, or I had no idea what he was upset about. I called the police and they came and talked to him. Then the cop came over and talked to me and explained that he was upset that I was in his way. I need to emphasize that at no point did he ever come over and tell me I was in his way or ask me to move. I had no idea what set him off. He just completely flipped out, and it was nuts. That's not that bad, at least. At least that's not like, oh my god, I almost got killed. Like, you know what I mean? Listening to this while driving a semi-truck hits different. Fuck, bro. So the crap into me, I too would be torn in that situation between parental instincts and self-preservation. Exactly, because honestly, like, there's a kid screaming, you want to help them. You don't want to just abandon a poor kid that's, like, screaming for help, right? Like, you want to help. As you should want to help, right? Like, it's terrifying wanting to help, but then you can't help, or... You want to help, but it's like you're torn because you might die if you help. You might literally... That's right. That's also true here too. I did turn off the recording already, but forcing him to slow down, why? He's in a normal car, and you're in an 80,000-pound semi-truck. You could have just plowed right through him. That's true. Yeah, because everyone wants a criminal charge put on them. That's true too. Well, murder is typically frowned upon. That's true. It's a great deal Mr. Nightmare drops. Whatever you guys do, just call the police. If you're ever unsure, call police 911, call police non-emergency, call somebody else. They have the equipment to deal with that shit. They have the lights, sirens, they can actually, you know, they have weapons to help themselves, and you got nothing. And that's not your job. Being a cop is not your job. Being an investigator, not your job. Let somebody else, that's their actual job, take care of that. Again, it's like someone, instead of calling security, they try to deal with it themselves. Just call security and I'll come deal with it, you know what I mean? That's my job. So, yeah, anyways. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below. Be sure to tell me what you guys thought of this video. Be sure, if you guys are a trucker, let me know if you guys have any stories. If you do, let me know in the comments down below. You can type out the whole story if you want to, or you can add me on Snapchat, or do whatever the fuck you want to do, Instagram. If you guys do add me on Instagram, please just send me a message saying, hey, I'm adding you from YouTube. I'm a fan of YouTube, because if you just say hey, I'm probably not going to respond to you, so just heads up. I'll see you guys next video. Thanks for watching. Deuces. Peace. 6 fingers for this video.